All right, we're going to talk about the top 10 reasons to live in Western North Carolina. We're going to count it down 10 to 1. And so stick around for the last one because it may be a surprise or there may be some that surprise you along the way. But for number 10, we're starting with
the undefinable call of the mountains.
So what in the world does that mean? So this is more me. I grew up in South Carolina, just across the border, about an hour from here. And we were all the time up and down the mountain, as you say. And the reason you say that is because Interstate 26 connects South Carolina to North Carolina. And when you drive from like the Greenville area or Spartanburg area of South Carolina and you drive up to Hendersonville or Asheville, you come up to a part where it is like a front range. Now, it's not as dramatic as the front range of the Rockies or the Alps, but it still is dramatic enough. It's about 1,000-foot elevation difference. So you come up what's known as the Saluda Grade, and I'm sure we'll probably do an episode on just the Saluda Grade and its importance at some point. So check it out, especially if you're a railroad enthusiast.
Or traffic.
But you'd come up the mountain, and with doing that, you gain that elevation, but you also gain about consistently in the summer months and spring months, minimally 5 degrees, but sometimes it'd be 10 degrees difference in the temperature. So it's not nearly
And
as
I think
warm.
you see those differences most notably in the peak of summer and the middle of winter. You're going to see those. That's probably the biggest difference that you'll see at those times.
But it's just that thing where you see the mountains and you're like, oh, I've arrived now. So because below that, it's rolling hills, it's the foothills of South Carolina. It's a dramatic difference in topography, and that's that call of the mountains. And there's actually bumper stickers that kind of say as much like, the mountains are calling.
And I must go.
So there you go. So at number 9 is something that we have episodes on too, which is talking about the food scene around Western North Carolina, because it really has a dynamic, diverse, and well thought of food scene, particularly in Asheville, because they have some James Beard award winners, I think there's even some Michelin star restaurants that have come through there, and they're still active.
They also have a lot of variety. I think you're going to see that you would expect to see in some of those larger metropolitan areas. I would say Asheville has all of those.
Yeah, as an example, there's Karate, which is the Spanish tapas restaurant that's award winning. There's also Chai Pani, which is a very well known and well liked Indian cuisine type restaurant. So you have that, but then you get into the other smaller towns around. So you have like Hendersonville that has a functioning downtown. You have Waynesville that has a functioning downtown. What do I like in Waynesville? You remember? Yeah, it's the bakery, but it's like they make the best Danishes. And I'm not even a huge Danish fan, but man, they do it right. And then Brevard also has a functioning downtown. So all these downtown areas, they have at least one, if not more, really good restaurants in those locations as well. So it's not just all about Asheville. Definitely venture out further than that if you come and visit Western North Carolina or you decide to live here. So number 8 coming in at top 10 reasons. And this is a big one for, I think, retirees, right?
I would say almost for everybody really. Health and wellness is our number 8 list. Number 8 reason on the list. Thank you. I would say, surprisingly, we have a really robust healthcare system here. So right in Hendersonville, there are 2 major hospitals. There's the Advent Health Hospital System. There's also the Pardee Hospital System, which is a part of UNC Healthcare. Then a little further up the road in Asheville is in Mission Hospital, which is a part of HCA Healthcare.
It's the Trauma One Center too. Yes, like if you had a serious injury, they would get you to Mission Hospital in Asheville.
Yeah.
But if for any other kind of thing outside of that, you could go to the other 2 hospital systems as well.
And I would say that's probably also our number 1 employer in the area is going to be a lot of the hospital system, the healthcare industry in general. There's a lot of assisted living facilities, just the whole gamut. We do have a large retiree population here.
There's also wellness. I mean, you can find anything from yoga, any type of yoga to is it called bar or barre? I always mess that up.
Bar and Pilates.
Obviously, I don't do those.
Bar, Pilates, and I was going to say the
spas and anything, any treatments like that.
And I would say probably from, more budget conscious to even the, more higher end spas are in the area too. And there's Hot Springs is not too far away in Western North Carolina.
So like an onsen style Japanese bath kind of thing, if you know what that is. Basically, Hot Springs, hot tub, nature's hot tub, if you want to call it that.
Yes.
So there's all that kind of stuff around. And of course, from a wellness perspective, one of the main attractions here is just getting outdoors. I mean, there's tons of hiking.
Don't get too far ahead.
Trails,
don't give away our higher up on the list.
It might be further up the list. We don't know.
Hi, it's Suzanne and Ryan with the LivePlayWNC real estate team. We know you'll love Western North Carolina and upstate South Carolina just as much as we do.
We aim to be your go-to source for all of your real estate needs. And if you're relocating to the area, be sure to ask us about our Home Ownership Made Easy program that we've perfected over the years, helping others relocate from all over the country.
And if you like the insights that we have to share about this area, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button so that you receive notifications and share with your friends.
And if you're ready to schedule a call to talk about next steps, shoot us a message at info@liveplaywNC.com or give us a text or call at 828-222-5034. Now, back to the show. Actually going to number 7, and this is something that's probably happened over the last 20-ish years. I'm ballparking here.
Yeah.
But absolute explosion in craft wineries, breweries, and cideries, and we even have a place that does mead in town, which I had to look that up and figure out what that was. It's basically fermented honey, right? Or something to that effect.
As good as mine. We have a brandy bar.
That's right. Spirits. There's another distillery.
M&T distilling. Yeah. So
all
moonshine,
around here.
I could say there's a moonshine.
Yeah. All around here, there's all kind of alcohol that you name it, it's probably here in some way, shape, or form. But Asheville in particular had the moniker called Beer City, USA that they kind of went by. I don't know if that's still as popular, that they're using it as much. But on the South Slope in particular, there was a lot of microbreweries. I mean, you have Green Man and High Wire, and there's a lot here. Take this for example. In Hendersonville, the actual city of Hendersonville population is around 15,000 people. How many microbreweries do we have in downtown now? Over 13.
Oh, I was going to say more than. I was going to say at least 10.
Over 13.
Okay.
So, it's a great place. And the nice thing about any of these locations, whether it's the wineries or the microbreweries, is they're very family friendly. They're very pet friendly.
You wouldn't really think about that, but typically they usually have a large outdoor area associated with, or at least a patio or something, depending on.
Food trucks
come in, but typically, like you said, they're pet friendly, they're kid friendly. So it's not just a place like a dive bar kind of feeling. It's more like a family
just
outing.
A
little something for the kids, right? A little something for the adults, and even Sierra Nevada. We didn't talk about that.
But they had a multi-million-dollar, tens of millions of dollars investment in Mills River, right, very close to the Asheville airport. And it's just a beautiful complex. They actually run brewery tours too, if you want to take advantage of that.
You might want to book that in advance because they do sell out. But they also bring in live music, and they have really upscale food as well.
Over a 400-seat restaurant on site.
Yeah, and it's just a beautiful place to visit. Yeah,
it's very cool.
Yeah.
That leads us to what we jumped the gun on, which is the number 6 on our list, the outdoor recreation. So
if you're like a mountain biker, road biker, rock climber, hiker,
water sports like rafting also in the area,
tubing,
canoeing, kayaking.
If you want to float, just tubing. You can float down the river.
That is the one interesting thing to point out, though, that I think is probably surprising to people that haven't looked at the map or haven't, visited here, is there's not a lot of lakes in Western North Carolina.
No.
There's a few, but not an abundance.
No. So you're like, for larger motorboat, like if you're thinking of water skiing or something like that, it's not as readily or easily accessible in this part of North Carolina.
The good news is, from a distance perspective, I mean, there are some in North Carolina, but you can also drive an hour and a half or so over to South Carolina, and they have a chain of 3 lakes that are basically, they were built by Duke Power for the energy dam kind of resources. And it's Jocassee at the top, then Kiowee, and then Lake Hartwell. And Hartwell's massive, but Jocassee and Kiowee are pretty pristine lakes. They're nice to go do any kind of like stand-up paddleboarding and that kind of stuff. So again, no shortage of outdoor recreation. Yeah. Another tip: download the what's the hiking app? All Trails. Thank you. All Trails app. That's a fantastic app.
And there's tons of just because we said there's no lakes, but there's tons of swimming holes that you can easily hike to, and some are really just right off the side of the road that doesn't really even require a hike. Sliding Rock is a big popular one
over Pisgah Forest.
Pisgah National Forest. So
number 5 on our list, and this might be number 1 depending on where you're coming from, particularly if you're coming and relocating from a high cost of living state or a high tax state like New Jersey and New York,
California,
Illinois, California,
Midwest.
That sort of thing. If you're coming from those parts, what's going to be attractive to you is the cost of living. So Number one, your property tax is probably going to be anywhere from a half to a third of what you may be paying in those areas.
Yeah.
The amount of house you can buy in terms of square footage would also be larger probably than what you dollar for dollar will get in those areas,
Yes.
particularly if it's around a suburb of a major city.
Yeah.
The thing that is surprising though for people in terms of and everything else cost of living wise, from all your insurances typically are going to be less, your homeowner's insurance, your auto insurance, because we just don't have the population here that increases the rates that much. Anything from gas, I mean, gas sitting here, it's in early 2025, and it's like $2.80 a gallon, somewhere around there, $2.65. There's a little bit of a range, obviously. So cost of living is very pretty good here. The one thing that is surprising, I think, for people that relocate, I mean, don't get me wrong, everyone that relocates here, they see the mountains and they're like, I want that view. It takes a little bit of money to get that view these days. So I would say you're probably going to have a budget to get that long range mountain view of like 700 plus minimally, and you're probably looking above $1 million realistically.
Yes. Yeah.
Depending
also like how accessible it is. It's all about location. The number one rule in real estate: location.
Check out our other videos too, in terms of the things that you need to think about when you're relocating to a mountainous area, particularly if you've only ever kind of lived in a suburban or a city urban kind of area. There's a few things you need to think through, and we can obviously help out with that too. Number 4 is
entertainment. There's actually
it's
everywhere and for all ages as well. There's the State Theater of North Carolina at the Flat Rock Playhouse is in Flat Rock, which is
what kind of things do they do there?
They do all kinds of musicals. They'll do some rock like tribute concerts. They'll have a holiday show typically. But
and occasionally they'll do kind of Broadway style plays like the Glass Menagerie or something to that effect.
Yes. They're doing Cats soon.
Right. So in and around Hendersonville, you have, in terms of entertainment, you just spoke about the Flat Rock Playhouse.
There's also the Hendersonville Theater,
which does
more community theater.
Local community theater. And then there's also the Hendersonville Symphony, believe it or not. Asheville has one as well.
Yeah.
And if you get more toward Asheville, they have a little bit larger of space in terms of an amphitheater that actually was taken over by Harris Cherokee Casino in downtown Asheville. That's where you'll get some, I would say, mid-sized musical acts. It's not going to be anybody that's,
I think they had
Taylor Swift isn't going to come play there because of the size.
But I think they had like Bare Naked Ladies and
last year.
And
then just a little bit further away, if you want to combine kind of a show with maybe a little casino action, you do in Cherokee, which, from Hendersonville, that takes about an hour and a half ish.
Yeah.
From Asheville, probably just 45 minutes to an hour. You can go to Harris Cherokee Casino, and they have a whole amphitheater there too that brings in. Then they have a comedy show that's pretty much every night that you can do.
And I was gonna say the music and
live music.
Yeah, live music and just it's gonna be at the breweries that we mentioned earlier. It's gonna be at some of the coffee houses, things like that.
Hand in hand with that, number 3 on the list is that we have a thriving art scene. So music is obviously one art form, but we have a lot of other kind of mixed media artists and kind of craftspeople around here that can do all kinds of amazing stuff.
When I think of Western North Carolina, I always think of like pottery. There's fiber artists. There's just really kind of an eclectic art scene. So Hendersonville has the Art League, the Art Guild.
And there's also several galleries around the downtown corridor, but then there's also, and they're rebuilding a bit at this point, but there's the River Arts District, which is a main focal point of all the kind of artist activity in
And a lot
Asheville.
of times their studios will be open and you can actually see the artists working at the time that you go visit.
Yeah, glasswork too. They don't forget about that kind of stuff, whether it's stained glass or blown glass.
Yeah. I also think of woodworkers too. There's carvers and you'll see that, I just think in the area in general, because people like their bear carvings.
So top 2 that we're getting to, and it's all, I would say these are the main drivers probably for people that puts this part of Western North Carolina on the map and radar for everybody, and that is the climate.
Yeah, the climate. For me, that was probably the driving factor for really narrowing it down and honing in on this Western North Carolina area, because you really do get 4 seasons as opposed to maybe 30-40 minutes away and further down the mountain.
You go into South Carolina, the winters are a lot more milder.
Yeah. So here you have some chances to see a few flakes of snow. If it snows in Western North Carolina, I would say your snow maybe sticks around for a day or two, but I would say it probably melts pretty fast. And I don't think it's not like this long winter that really kind of drags on forever.
Every once in a while, you'll get a pretty significant snow. So every 5 years or so, in 2018, December, we had about 16 inches in different areas around here, just near Hendersonville. And it took a few days for that to melt away. But the towns usually take care of the snow removal on the roads and stuff. It just may not be as quick as if you are used to living in the Northeast.
Yep.
Hendersonville is actually known as the town of Four Seasons.
Yeah, they call it Four Seasons Boulevard on Highway 64 there. But yeah, even in the summertime, you have I think, a very long spring here because you'll start to get some of those warm days in February. And I feel like spring kind of lasts a while before that humidity builds in a little bit.
The major time to see like things blooming in the area is probably mid to late April. Into
April.
Yeah, April in general.
Late April, but yeah.
Yeah, and it's great because you have azaleas, you have mountain laurel that's a little later blooming. It's just really beautiful to drive around. So you can drive on the Blue Ridge Parkway.
The Blue Ridge Parkway, of course, for fall is
when the colors change.
Very well known for all the beautiful fall leaf color. There we have a lot of gardens around that you can go visit, like Bullington Gardens, of course, the gardens at Biltmore.
And also the Arboretum.
Yep, the North Carolina Arboretum. So lots of
beautiful scenery. And that takes us, we were talking about climate right then, but the number one reason is this just stunning natural scenery that you have all around. I mean, you just take a drive and you're just like, wow, this is like something you don't get to see every day. But it is something you get to see every day if you live here, right?
Yeah.
You see the mountain, the rolling mountains and the hills.
You're either in the valleys, if you're in the valley, you're looking up and you're surrounded by mountains. If you're on top of the mountain, then you're looking down into the valley and you're seeing all the the different shades. They call it the Blue Ridge Mountains. That you're seeing the shades of the blues in the distance and
depending on the weather, you get that phenomenon that they call like smoke on the mountain, which is basically like the fog layer that you see in the valleys that looks like, smoke. It's just,
and there's typically, I would say, almost in any one of these Western North Carolina towns, if there's a vista that's not too far away, that's pretty close to the town within a 5-minute drive, where you can actually just go and appreciate
some of
either a sunrise, sunset,
easy to get to and accessible, like Jump Off Rock in Laurel Park, which is just west of downtown Hendersonville.
Yep.
So again, beautiful scenery. It's probably the top reason that Western North Carolina gets on people's radar. But as you saw with this list, there was a lot more to it.
There's a lot more to it. A lot of reasons to come.